in a studio, I have sports enthusiast Brian Hyland. Now, Brian is going to talk to me about the Six Nations, the Rugby Six Nations, and he's actually going to tell me exactly how this game works because I haven't got a clue. Brian, welcome to the studio.
Oh, thanks, Fiona. Thanks for having me in. And so you're a total novice when it comes to this game. You haven't really got much of a clue, and I'm sure you're not the only one out there. So those of you who have in the past nodded along to conversations, pretending that you know what's going on, fear no longer, because I'm going to give you the lowdown on what exactly rugby is.
I have a couple of nephews who are going to be watching this at the weekend, and they're going to know more than me, so they're going to be quite surprised if I'm able to tell them what the rules of the game are. So that'd be great for you to share that with us today.
Brilliant. Well, there's plenty of people out there who know what's going on as well. So I'll give you a brief description of what it is. So rugby, basically, you've seen it on TV before, I'm sure, but there's basically 15 players in the pitch, and the objective, I suppose, is to get the ball across the opposition's end line. And
there's obviously different scores for wherever they hit the ball on the pitch. Is that right? Or
sort of, I suppose you could say that. But basically, get it over the line, called a try. You've heard of a try?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
And then that's the aim. That's kind of like I suppose the goal, I suppose. And then get 5 points for a try. And then you can also kick the ball over the bar.
Okay.
You can do this from open play with a drop kick.
So do they score more if they hit it over the bar?
No, they score less.
They score less, okay.
So it's only 3 points if you get it over the bar.
Right.
But so 3 points over the bar. And then after you get a score try, you also get to kick the ball from the ground again at the posts. And you get 2 points to that, 2 bonus points after your try, called a conversion.
Okay. And tell me, what's all this scrumming about?
So the scrum is... so there's 8 players in the team who can test the scrum. They're usually the stronger and of the heavier players in the team. And a scrum can be given as a penalty for, say, if I was to throw the ball to you, and then you didn't catch the ball, but you knocked the ball out of your hands and it went forward. It's called a knock on. Okay. For that, the other team is awarded a scrum, meaning they get to put the ball into the scrum, which makes them more likely to win the ball in the scrum.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you follow me?
Yeah.
And then, so that's what the scrum is. They push against each other and then try and get the ball back. And
always looks terribly rough, that scrum.
Yeah, and there is kind of a lot of problems with it in the past. There's been problems with eye gouging and problems with
and do they wear headgear or anything like that?
Some do. Some wear scrum caps, which are...
And the teeth, I see some of them with
the gum shields. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but a lot of them actually just wear the scrum caps as well, just to protect their ears from getting what they call cauliflower ears.
I've heard of that.
Boxers get it as well. It's when you really start to
break the cartilage
in the ears, kind of become a bit disformative.
Yeah.
But the reason we're talking about
it's a bit risky.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of tension at this game on Saturday.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. So it's a big game now for the Irish rugby team, and I suppose they're hoping to build on the success they had in the autumn internationals when they beat New Zealand in Chicago, and also the win they had against Australia as well.
Oh, wow.
So they're coming into it fairly strong.
Good.
They're not the favourites going into the competition. England are the favourites. But because England are the reigning champions, England have a great winning record. I think they're on 17 in a row. So I think Ireland will be doing well to beat England, but that match isn't until the last match. And hopefully we'll get a game where it'll be the deciding match, Ireland versus England. That'd be absolutely fantastic.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. How long does the game go on for?
80 minutes. 80 minutes, yeah. And they take breaks. Every time the ball goes out of play, they stop the clock. So it's exactly 80 minutes. And then once the ball goes out of play after the 80th minute, game over.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay. So it seems like it's quite a straightforward game, but you need a lot of endurance.
Yeah,
to be
and
able to
I'm just giving you the basics here. There's a lot more I could really get into.
You're not giving me the juicy stuff then.
Well, I'm not giving you the technical stuff. I'll introduce it to you slowly. Maybe if we have another show next week, maybe I could take you on to the next part of the sport, I suppose.
We can keep this running on the show next time if you want
introduce some more of the positions and tell you things about how they can test the scrum and things like lineouts as well, which we didn't really get into there.
Yeah,
which is basically when you throw the ball back in after it goes out of play.
Yeah,
but can be quite complicated as well.
So what time is the match on at?
So the match. Sorry, the match.
What time is the match?
3 o'clock. I suppose the big shock is the omission of a lot of the players who are playing abroad. There seems to be a favouritism with Joe Schmidt for players who are playing in Ireland because they're more readily available for selection. So say if you're a player playing for abroad, the preference is given to say you play for a club abroad. So players play for clubs and they play for the country. But if you play for a club abroad, you're not as free to go back to your country as you are if you're playing within the country. So the players from Munster, Ulster, Leinster, Connacht, they all are free to go into international duty. whenever the coach calls them, but the players playing abroad aren't. So I think we have a little sound clip, and we hear Joe Clip talking about players like Marty Moore and Ian Madigan who are playing in France and why they haven't been selected for this competition.
Okay, do we have that clip
They
there?
haven't gone away. I've had some good conversations with Ian lately. It's not like he's disappeared and he's off the radar. We know we can whistle him in, but we also know during the Six Nations period that we play 2 matches, then he'd have to go back. We'd play 1 match, he'd have to go back, and then we'd get to play the last 2 matches. So it's not like you get a continuity of work space with the actual player. So that's a real frustration for us. And it's the same with Marty. And at the same time, Marty was probably ahead of Tig in the Leinster kind of hierarchy of tight heads when Marty left. And Tig Furlong has come through. John Ryan is working his way through. Finlay Bealham has played a lot, including coming off the bench against the All Blacks. So it's probably allowed an opportunity for other people.
Thanks for that. Gosh, that was interesting.
Yeah, it's Joe Smith. They're talking about why players that that haven't been selected now this time haven't been selected, and and there's a lot of players that are injured. Of course, you might have heard of Johnny Sexton. Does that name ring any bells?
Somewhere in the background there, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, he
wouldn't mean quite as much to me now as he would to you, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, you might get to know him now that you're a new rugby enthusiast.
I'm going to be watching this match, I can tell you.
Well, I'm afraid you won't be watching Johnny Sexton this time because he will be injured for this game.
Oh, okay.
So he's Ireland's out half, which means he does the kicking. He kicks the ball over the bar.
Right.
So
So they're going to miss him on Saturday.
Oh, big time. Yeah, he's he's probably their best player now of the last 4 or 5 years.
So we're not really getting off to a good start missing him, are we?
No, absolutely not. And we're also missing Peter O'Mahony, who is a Munster player as well, who is actually very good. He plays as a second row. He plays in the scrum, which we talked about earlier. And they're missing him as well. And he probably won't be available until the Italy game. And neither will Johnny Sexton. That's actually quite doubtful that they will even be available for those games.
Yeah.
But,
so this is going to be interesting to see how they manage without those 2 team players,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And there's...
Okay.
So there's also moving on from the rugby, we also have a lot of GAA action this weekend. So the National Football League is starting this weekend. So it's kind of the real start of the GAA season. We had some preliminary tournaments there, like the O'Byrne Cup, the FBD League, the Munster Cup.
This is a typical time of the year for sports in Ireland, isn't it? Really, they all kind of start around this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like the GAA is getting back now, and that's when it really, because we have, I suppose, we have the football going on in England. We have the rugby starting now, the Six Nations, and now we have the National Hurling League, which is starting next weekend, and the National Football League starting this weekend coming now. And we've, I suppose, the big game now is tomorrow night is going to be Monaghan against Mayo under lights in McHale Park. It's going to be the first big game, and as you know, Mayo narrowly lost.
Are they on at the same time, or are they on at different times tomorrow?
Now tomorrow night there's just one game on tomorrow night under lights, and then apart from that all the games will be on.
So a full day of sports for all the sports lovers.
A huge day of sport. We haven't even talked about the Super Bowl, which is going on in America on Sunday evening, as well. So that's going to be another
full weekend of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It means a lot to Irish culture, really, the GAA, doesn't it? And the rugby. It's very typical.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're kind of a little out on a limb if you're not in on it.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I think so. If you're in, it's kind of what we talk about the most. It's what we talk about in the papers a lot as well. And I think Irish people in general are kind of serial event goers, that we will actually go to anything. Like, especially the rugby seems to get a huge following. I think that didn't have it maybe 20 years ago. There wasn't such a following. I think maybe it's football, soccer had more following, and now rugby kind of has garnered this following, I suppose, through the emergence of Munster Rugby when that became a professional rugby club, and Leinster Rugby, and these teams have huge followings. So I think they've really brought that along. It's a huge part of Irish culture, absolutely. And the GAA, of course, nothing more Irish than the GAA, really, in a way.
I mean, it would have been kind of a typical male sport, years back, but there's a lot of women very involved in watching Irish sport now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I suppose that's with the development of, women's teams and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and no more so in the GAA now. Women's football is very popular. I think the women's Gaelic football final last year was the highest attendance for any women's sporting event in Europe. Which, that's pretty impressive. It's not to be sniffed at. Yeah,
that's really fabulous. Yeah. Okay, well, I think I'm up to speed on how some of that game works. I don't know all of the rules, but I generally know where the ball is supposed to be going.
By the end of Six Nations, I'll have you'll be a rugby expert and you'll be telling everyone.
Well, I'm really looking forward to that.
Your nephews won't know.
Oh, yeah.
They won't know you after this.
They won't know me after this. No, they'll be thinking, what's that coming out of her mouth, But, that's wonderful. I'd really be delighted with that. So, what are your plans for the weekend? Are you going to be watching the match? Or
I'm actually going to be in Cork this weekend. I'm playing at a music festival in Cork. The Quarter Block Party is taking place in Cork this weekend.
So you're not going to get a chance to watch the match, are you?
I don't think so, no. I'm doing, I'm down with my friends at Dublin Digital Radio who are doing a radio broadcast down there, and we're going to be there. We're going to be down there for the weekend, and we're going to be broadcasting in Gulp Cafe in Main Street in Cork.
Okay. Are you going to be playing?
I'm going to be doing some recording of some interviews, and then I'm going to be playing DJing then from 9 o'clock till 12.
Well, maybe you'd be good enough to bring back some clips on that. We'd love to hear them.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to get some interviews then, and there's going to be some really good acts playing down there this weekend.
Yeah. Do you play yourself? Do you play instruments yourself?
I used to play a little bit of guitar, but I'm not really so much anymore. I'm kind of gone more so for interviewing people, I suppose, and
more of an observer.
More of an observer and more of a selector rather than a creator of music. So, yeah.
Okay, now back to our competition. I'm just wondering, do we have anybody on the line there who is willing to give us the right answer? Let's just see. Hello?
Hello, hi Fiona.
Hello. And who am I speaking to there?
It's Keith.
Keith. Now, we had a question earlier on our show, and our question was, Ireland play their first game of Rugby Six Nations tomorrow in Edinburgh, Scotland, at Murrayfield Stadium. Who do they play?
Scotland.
Scotland is the correct answer. And I hadn't even finished that question, but you've obviously been listening this afternoon or this morning, and you've got the right answer. So congratulations to you. Do you know what the prize is?
I don't know.
Nobody's told you what the prize is? Well, I can tell you that it's a fabulous rugby ball signed by Jamie Heaslip, the captain himself. So how's that going down? Are you happy with that?
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm chuffed. Thanks a million.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. That's wonderful to talk to you, and the best of luck with that. Our producer has all your details there, so we'll be sending that out to you in the post. I don't know if you'll have it before the Six Nations is over, but hopefully you will. Okay, thanks very much, Keith. That's all we've got time for here now. I'd like to say a great big thank you to our staff here at the studio. We have Darren Moyna on our mixer desk, and we have producer Brian Hyland. Coming up next week, we're going to be discussing the Six Nations again, and we're going to be getting into a little bit more detail about how that game works and how they're coming along and who's winning and who's losing, and, that will be interesting to get back to that. So until next time, thank you for listening to Radio Exo.